Today in class, we went over some extra review questions. I thought I'd make a video so anyone who is absent or needs the extra support can take a look. Today, I also handed out a self-reflection. This is just a good checklist to evaluate how you're doing on each of the pieces. What do you need to study so you can narrow down the scope? Let's take a look at this first example. In this first example, you need to create your parent table. For your parent table, your parent function is 3 to the x. So we're going to stick to those 5 values we've been using. Anything to the 0 power is 1, 3 to the 1 is 3, 3 squared is 9. 3 to the negative 1 means we flip when we have a negative exponent, and 3 to the negative 2 means we square and flip. So first make sure you know how to create your parent function each time. We then need to apply those transformations. If I read my function left to right, I need to multiply my y's by 2, my vertical stretch. Then I need to add 4, my horizontal shift, to the x's. This will help us create our new table of which we can graph. So we end up with a value of 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 18, 6, 2, 2/3, and 2/9. So as I graph those, I know I can't be exact with some of those values, but I do know that I'm not touching the x-axis. That's because my vertical shift, there isn't one. Therefore, my asymptote is y equals 0, which means I shouldn't go past that y equals 0 value. A couple of things I'm going to look for on the test as far as graphing is that your values have arrows to show that they do go on forever, and that you go along the asymptote without going over it. So I need to see the arrows and I need to see that extension. Our domain will always be negative infinity to infinity, forever left, forever right, and our range is from 0 to infinity, or some of you have been writing it y is greater than 0. In this case, growth or decay, our base is greater than 1, therefore it is growth. Okay, don't base it necessarily on what the graph looks like, base it on the base, the rule. Let's take a look at another one. This time my parent function is 1/2 to the x. So I'm going to stick to those same x values to start off with, but now anything to the 0 power is 1, anything to the 1 power is itself, if I square it. Now to the negative power I flip it, so I end up with a 2, or I end up with a 4. Our transformations are times the y's by 2. I'm not doing anything to the x, but I do have a vertical shift of 4. You have to multiply before you add. If you do it in the reverse order, you're not going to get the correct solution. This creates our final table that we're going to graph. We get a 12, an 8, a 6, a 5, and let's see, a 4.5. Start with the easy values first. It'll kind of give you an idea of where that graph should be going. 5 and 2, 4.5. I can tell by my vertical shift, which will become my asymptote, that y equals 4. Therefore, I'm not going to touch that value of 4. So as I graph, don't forget your arrows, but you need to show that extension along the asymptote. Our domain is always negative infinity to infinity because it's forever left, forever right. Our range is 4 to infinity, low to high. And in this case, our base is between 0 and 1. Therefore, it is decay. That is the rule. Our third type of graph we have is our E. In this case, you definitely need a calculator because you want to use that E key. Every calculator has it. If you're not sure, you need to make sure to ask. So our parent function's e to the x. You're going to end up with some decimals. What I'm going to do here is as I type this into my calculator, I'm going to leave it in there and look at my transformations right away. My transformations, I've got a times -2, I've got a plus 3 to the x's, and a plus 4 to the y's. I'm just going to do one value at a time. That way, I can just leave that decimal in my calculator to get the most accurate answer. So keep that value, e to the -2. Oops, and I think I typed in the wrong value, so let's take a look here. This should actually be, let me try that again, e to the -2 gives you 0.1353. Keep that decimal in your calculator, times by -2, add 4. Okay, be careful that you're using the correct keys. Maybe use the equal sign in between each move. And we end up at approximately 3.73. Okay, let's take care of the next value, e to the -1, which is about 0.367. But I'm going to go right away and times it by -2 and add 4. And that takes us to 3.26. 2 to 3 decimals is enough. If you want to do a little bit more, it's up to you, but you need at least 2. And our x value, of course, would be 2. I'm going to take care of these plus 3's right away because that's the easy stuff. And then I'm just going to bring these down right away. Save yourself some time. Okay. So 0 plus 3, 1 plus 3, 2 plus 3. Anything to the 0 power is 1, even if it's an e value. So 1 minus 2 plus 4 would take me to 3. E to the 1 gives me a value. This is the value of e, so this is from your notes. Let's times it by -2 and add 4. So we have -1.43. Okay, and I forgot my little times sign there. All right, and then let's do e to the 2nd power times by -2, add 4, and we end up with e to the 2nd. If you don't want to write that decimal, if you just want to write e to the 2nd, that's fine. But what I'm really interested in is that final value. So as I graph it, 1, 3.73, 2, 3.26, 3, 3, 4, -1.43, 5, -10. It's a little bit past there. Now take a look. Your asymptote. My vertical shift is 4. Therefore, that is my asymptote. I can't go above that asymptote when I'm graphing. So I'm going to approach it, and I need to show that arrow and follow that curve downwards. Okay. Our range is still -infinity to infinity. Our range now is low to high, -infinity up to that asymptote. Now this one's a little bit tricky, growth or decay. It depends on your x value. This x value is positive, so it is growth. I know that's difficult looking at the graph, but break it down as thinking about it as the national debt. It's growing exponentially negative. So if the graph confuses you, stick to the rule. Positive x means growth. Let's take a look at what formula we would use on this one. You have to have those 3 formulas memorized. It's either going to have the word compound or you're going to use growth and decay. In this case, we're decreasing. I'm going to use the decay formula. Okay? We start off with our original amount. We have 400 milligrams. We're decaying, so it's 1 minus. Our percentage is 0.29, and our time is 6 hours, and it goes down each hour. So when you plug this into your calculator, keep it in your calculator. You want the most accurate answer possible. So in this case, we end up with approximately 51.24. Label it. What are we talking about? Milligrams of ibuprofen. Take a look at this one. Keyword compounded, which means I need to use my formula about compound interest. We start with our principal amount. We have 1 plus. Our rate is 0.068 over, in this case, monthly, so it's going to be over 12. We use that 12 again, but we want to know how much in 15 years. Don't need to show me much work other than that, but you do need to leave it in your calculator and give me the most exact answer possible. And in this case, it should be approximately 5,530.44 cents. Think if that makes sense. If I started with 2,000 and I'm growing, I should go up. It's over 15 years. So yes, I should go up to over 5,000. It makes sense for the problem. Reducing or simplifying our e-values. We want to use the same rules as exponents. So let's take the 9 times the 4. We've got our base e. When we multiply the bases, we add the exponents. Therefore, it's e squared. When we have an exponent on the outside, we distribute every base. So I end up with 3 squared e to the 8x because we multiply those exponents. Simplify what you can and leave the rest. In preparation for the test, you have this video plus previous videos that you can rewatch. You have some notes that were put into Google Classroom as well. You have your notes that you can review. All the worksheets have been posted online, so you could use some of those questions for extra review. You have the Sabre Center where you can go and ask questions and prepare for the test. All of these options are different ways that you can study. Okay, refer back to that slip if you're not sure what you need to study. The one thing that I will for sure point out, as I have in class, is you need to know your formulas. There are 3 of them. 2 of them are almost exactly the same. So take your time, study, you know what to do to succeed, and we'll see you next time.